Welcome back, Gordon and Julia.
Thank you.
We were so happy to be back.
I'm so happy to be here at the Flint Repertory Theatre, but you guys aren't here. It's like backwards day. I finally saw the show.
Yes.
Yeah, it was
Yes.
really good.
Tornado warnings and all we hear.
Yeah, it was raining really, really hard. Like it was audible in the theater. I thought for the longest time that it was just really good, like ambient audience from the Olympics sound. It kind of worked out that way, but yeah,
Perfect.
Yeah, really, really great show. I have to tell you guys, I just spoke with 4 of your cast members, and they love what they're doing. Like, I mean, I'm not an actor, so I don't know if you always really, really love the show that you're doing, but they really, really love the show that they're doing. And they mentioned you guys, just so grateful for the material that they were given. But I cried a few times, laughed many times. The commentators are hilarious. But the thing that stood out the most, and I expressed this to you guys when we first talked, was, is this going to be a celebration, or are we going to just pretend that there wasn't some darker stuff going on? And I know that we discussed it in the interview, but to actually see it, it was really, really powerful. And what I think is so great is that you don't have to know gymnastics to understand what pressure is and what it's like to try to pretend that everything's fine or do things for other people, all of those, and the body part. I mean, that resonates with anybody. And I was able to talk to the audience afterwards, and it was a bunch of high school kids. There was one gymnast in the crowd. That was it. One gym, and she came on stage and did a back handspring. It was great. We have it on video. But, they were all nodding when I was basically saying that, regardless of what sport or activity you do, or just being alive, you recognize a lot of these themes, and you guys did that really well.
That's great to hear.
We always think of it just as much about ourselves as artists too, that so much is written with that point of view in mind, that it really is a universal thing.
Mm-hmm. So before we get a little more into, because I have some specifics I wanted to talk to you guys about, the big news is that the show was picked up and is running now at the Flint Repertory Theatre. So can you guys just talk about the excitement of that, what that means, and potentially what's the future or the goals of the show?
Yeah, the production of Flint Rep has really been a beacon for us, because we've been talking about it throughout the pandemic, and for so much of that time, everything felt so uncertain. But the Flint Rep was always there. They were in communication with us. They said, we're committed to doing your show. So we've really been looking forward to being able to do the show in this space with these sort of technical resources to really sort of put in all dimensions the vision we had for it.
And so how long is it running here?
It runs through April 16th.
Okay.
There are 9 more performances after today. And
I mean, what's the goal, guys? What are we trying to do? We're trying to get this in as many theaters as possible. Is there a specific theater you just want to see this in next? What are we aiming for? I'm saying we, because I'm on board now. I'm here. So
welcome to the team.
Yes. I think, a little of everything. I think we would love to see it move on to another theater after this. Like we said, like we talked about just now, it's a universal thing. So we think, we'd love to see what it's like in Atlanta or anywhere around the country. We'd really be excited. We just want to keep making it happen.
It's also interesting to us to think about different demographics of companies. It was really important to us for this production to cast people around our age, people who were about the age of these gymnasts at the time of these Olympics, to give this sense of perspective. But I can picture, a version of the show done at a college with people who are that age. And I think, that's a very different, that's a different story in a way. So we're curious about those permutations as well. It's down to 96 minutes now, which we think is thematically sort of fun. But the
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, the reordering was really interesting to me, because a lot of the songs, when we wrote them originally, we had the event in mind. So like there's one song that we wrote, we were like, oh, this is the song she sings while she's vaulting. And, you know, the music very much represents what I picture is sort of the process of the vault. But then for dramaturgical reasons, we moved that, and now she's on the bars while she's doing that song. So it's funny, these things that are more pliable than you maybe realized at first.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to share with you guys some of my favorite moments. Okay. Some because they're hilarious, some because they were spot on, and some because they really hit hard. I talked with your cast members specifically about the My Body part of the show. And yeah, I mean, that was so well done. The feel of the song, even if you take the lyrics out, like the feel of the rhythm of the way that they were talking, between talking and singing, and feel of the music was really, really wonderful. The way that, and we discussed this in the last interview, the way that they were talking about injury is just very matter of fact, but still you're reading between the lines as the audience and saying, man, that's really sad. They didn't have to say it was sad. You could feel it in the music, but the delivery of it being very matter of fact. We discussed, you know, unfortunately, especially around those times, injuries were almost like a badge of honor, because it was like, see how tough I am, see what I can withstand, see how hard I work. And then to watch them really hit the nail on the head, and the execution of it was really wonderful. And I think, Gordon, I think you had mentioned in our first interview about kind of their bodies not being their own.
Mhm.
And that goes onto this whole other level. The more you know about what's been going on in gymnastics and what's been uncovered, you can now see that. You can dig a little bit and go, oh my gosh, yeah. And if you don't know what's going on in gymnastics, you still are going to connect with that. It was a little gut wrenching, to be honest, but in a really great way. Okay. Not for you. Come on. That was amazing. So to my listeners, there's a part where Shannon Miller just gives it to the commentators, and then the cast goes up and like kicks their ass. It was my favorite. But there's this one line that I think Amy Chow says, all right, Timmy, to Tim Daggett, and I lost my mind. I mean, that was gold. All righty, Timmy.
I can't take credit for that. That was all Amanda, the actress who's playing Amy Chow. That was fully improv.
That was awesome. And then Dominique Milciano saying, every time Bella yells at me, I get better. Did I quote that right?
Every time he yells at me, my dreams are coming true, I think.
Oh my gosh. And I just, you could go out there and have her go, why does he yell at me? Or this is painful, or, be really literal about it. But that when she said that, and she convinced herself that Bella had healing powers and was going to make her leg okay. I mean, how sad is that? But also, she didn't go out there and cry about it. It was sad because she was saying it as if she believed it. Oh, and then that one line, it's Musciano again. If I'm not a champion, then who am I? Like, identity being tied to the thing that you do is, I keep saying, it's universal and so incredibly powerful. So I want to talk about when we first walked into the theater. I mean, I was like, this is my music. These are my, like, this was my wall in my bedroom. It's so cool. You walk into the 90s and it's great. And it's funny because these high school kids are coming in. I don't think that they got it because the 90s have come back. So to them, they're like, yeah. But to people who lived through it, it was really cool, down to the music that was playing before the show started. So you guys really did lean into that a lot and create it. And the snap barrettes and the scrunchies and the high top Reeboks. I mean, just it was 1996. It was great. How fun was that?
It was really amazing. Just a shout out to all of our designers who did such an amazing job creating the world, a world which feels like obviously 120 seat Georgia Dome. And just some of the touches. The first time we walked in and saw the design that was painted on the floor of the stage, that almost looks like, the screen in the opening credits of Saved by the Bell with the squiggles and the, all of that. We felt like, that was a sign. We hadn't seen that in any of the renderings or anything like that. And that was kind of what keyed us into this is correct.
Yes, it was correct. And I don't know if this was on purpose, but I think everything in theater is on purpose. So I'm going to assume that it was. The stage, first of all, it was a square. So that's a floor exercise. It wasn't 40 by 40, but it was a square. And then it had like boundary tape.
Mhm.
Was that okay? I'm like, did they really? Okay, good job, guys. Good job. So Gordon, you're a painter?
Yeah. Those, so
Did I surprise you?
my series of portraits of them, they're digital drawings. Yeah.
Artist.
Yes. Yeah, I have kind of a weird side gig of reality television portraiture. And
I'm sorry. See that again?
yes.
That's a thing?
I draw Real Housewives as a fun fun pastime
For fun and profit.
and yes, and there's a whole other world that if you really want to find, you can find.
Okay.
But yeah, I started to do drawings of them and just kind of realized that I think the way that Julia and I see them in the show kind of came through in the way that I drew them with, it's all colorful and kind of, has a little bit of a wink, but is human and tries to get at something really personal about them.
Yeah, no, they were great. So Gordon's got portraits of each of the athletes of the Magnificent Seven hanging in the lobby of the Flint Repertory Theatre. And I stopped in my tracks when I saw that. It was really cool.
It was very, very nice of them to want to
yes,
and share
very
them.
Cool. And at the hotel that I'm staying at, guys, when you get off the elevator, there's like a display case and they have the Mag 7 stuff up there. So that was really cool to see. So it looks like the city is embracing this show.
Yeah, the community that we've been involved with has been really welcoming and really lovely.
So the actors were telling me that they had tried to reach out to some of the actual people that they're portraying. It sounds like Amanda Borden got back, which is really cool. I'm curious about the commentators. Has there been any attempt to reach out to the commentators, like the actual commentators, Tim, Elfie, and John?
Knowledge?
No, I think because so much of the show is tied up in our nostalgia for that moment and our memories of that moment, we didn't, while we were writing, we don't claim that it's a piece of documentary theater by any means.
Right.
We wanted to keep it personal to us, and so we didn't want to talk to two of them and have them feel favored, and so
right. I got what you're saying. Yeah,
to complete it and get it up on stage. But no, we haven't reached out to John, Tim, or Alfie.
They were so funny. It was like, I think that what it did was it balanced everything really well. And where I was sitting is I literally had the commentators behind me and then the athletes in front of me. And it just felt like there was so much in the show. I keep using the word heavy, and I think it's because of my personal connection. It felt really not heavy in a bad way, just so strong, just a lot. There's a lot of feelings. And then to have them as almost the comic relief, not slapstick, and it was so funny because of some of the accuracy. I mean, you guys pulled like specific lines. And like I was saying them before them in my head, and then they'd say it. I'm like, oh my gosh. So that in itself is funny, but they had so many little nuanced things that each one of them were doing that I just think it kind of balanced the heavy feelings with that. And I think that was a really good job.
It was great to hear that the commentators were still sort of working for you, because one of the big things we cut was this sort of mid-show 10-minute mini opera where we imagined the commentators having a wild 36 hours in Atlanta. And I think we were a little bit trepidatious about sort of taking that out and being like, oh, so I guess all they do is commentate. So it's good to hear that them doing just that still works.
Oh, I thought they were perfect. There was a moment, and I'm so glad I turned around, where they were talking about how, how old the 19-year-olds are. This is definitely their last time. This is, our last competition ever. She's going to be done. We only get them for a short window and blah, blah, blah. And one of either John or Tim said to Elfie something about, oh, and women even have a shorter time frame to do this, right? I don't remember the wording. Well, you guys know the wording, but the look on her face, it was the only time that I saw something on the dramatic side from the commentators. They were just, they were so funny to me. But it was perfect. Like, you felt in that moment that she wanted to just be like, shut the fuck up. She was right. And she played it so well. And I'm just so glad that I turned around and caught that.
Yes, yes. They're three of the sweetest people, those three actors. So it's very funny to watch them become this kind of grotesque force that's a counterbalance to what the gymnasts are doing.
There was a question at the end that I was asked on stage, and it was, why do you think it's important that this show come out now? And I was a little caught off guard, because I know in my heart what my answer is. And I was like, well, I guess we're doing it. So I did touch upon, but there was something I wish I had said, so I'm going to say it to you guys. But basically, it's the same reason that we need to study history. We need to study things that happen so that we know how to not have them happen again, how to recognize the signs. It's very timely. But again, it's, you're not pretending that it didn't happen. That's not what we want to do. We want to find the good, and there is a lot of good. There's a lot of good in the story, and there's a lot of good that did happen, especially from each one of those athletes. It wasn't all bad, but we cannot ignore the bad. And you guys really dug underneath to show that. And that's what's really important. We got to look at that and go, okay, those are some signs that we can now look out for. If we don't understand it, then we're doomed to repeat it, and we can't let that happen. So I thank you guys for being a part of what we're trying to do in our sport, which is exactly that. Don't let people be assholes anymore, right? So listen to the athletes, and don't trust what you're seeing on the outside, because it's usually not as it seems. You guys did a really great job of that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anything you guys want to share?
I guess one other fun thing to share about the show is that, so after the New York workshop production, we recorded a cast album. So if anyone wants to check in on these songs, they'll be available on Spotify and Apple Music and what have you on April 14th.
Oh, okay. Spotify, April 14th.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be streaming kind of all of the places that things stream.
Okay. Oh, Not For You is going to be a hit, I'm telling you.
And we've implied it, but just to say it explicitly, we're so grateful for this cast, these designers, this creative team, the Flint Repertory Theatre, the community. It's such a rare experience to get to see a musical really sort of live in a fully fleshed out way. And we've learned so much about it. We've had so much fun doing it. It's been so meaningful to us. So we're very grateful.
Yes. Well, I just want to give a special shout out, especially for your listeners, to our amazing choreographer, Dwayne Lee Holland Jr., who was a junior national gymnast in the early and mid 90s, who brought some amazing perspective and authenticity to the production. And we just feel, and we say that he wasn't just the choreographer, he was our dramaturg, he was our resource. He brought so much knowledge and so much heart and honesty to the room and to the process that we're really grateful to have not been a whole team of outsiders looking in, that we felt like we got some legitimacy with him. And
he did. I mean, that was the first thing that I said was, oh my gosh, their fingers, they're doing it. Yes, and the
Yeah.
present and the press down. I mean, it was, yeah, they did a great job. I was so happy when Brianna actually said the phrase, our beam poses. I was like, you're doing it. You're a gymnast. And I have Dwayne next. I'm really excited to geek out on choreography with him. But yeah,
Right.
I saw Dwayne. I got it. I see what he did, and it's working. You can fool non-gymnastics people. You can't fool gymnastics people.
Yes, yes, exactly.
All right, guys, I will let you go. Congratulations on the continued success, and I hope it just keeps gaining momentum.
Thank you so much.
You're
It was so
welcome.
lovely to
With
talk.
us.
Thank you for having us on.
Of
Yes.
course. Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day in Flint.
Thank you. Bye.